and welcome to another Viking Monday. I'm your host, Fluff. If you have a question, feel free to leave them on down below in the comments or going over to my wonderful Twitter, the wonderful world of Twitter. It's a great quality website. First question. How did you first start out mixing/engineering? What advice would you give an aspiring audio engineer? Jordan, thank you so much for your question. For me, it was just initially a necessity to make the videos that I wanted to make happen on my YouTube channel. I was coming from the video world. I was always interested in audio recording, but back when I was first interested in it, back in the 90s, there was no options for recording at home whatsoever back then that I could access at age 17 or 18, right? So nowadays, you just go in Guitar Center and order an interface for $100 and off you go. That didn't exist when I was 17, 18, 19 in the late 90s. So for me, getting back into the YouTube thing drove my audio and engineering thing. I had a few friends that worked at some studios, so I would go and hang out there and kind of cut my teeth a little bit, helping out and recording my own stuff. And I was lucky enough to have an uncle that ran a studio and also had his own mastering studio. Got a lot of help from him early on. Honestly, it was just trial and error for me personally, which, things like, courses like Nail the Mix didn't exist even when I started doing the YouTube thing back in 2011. So I really did everything by trial and error, and I have had to do things 3 or 4 times in order to learn the one thing. But that's how it goes sometimes, and I'm totally okay with it. I wouldn't change anything for the world. If you are just starting out mixing and engineering, the best thing you can do is just to do it. Repetition and just sucking at first and learning new things and being open to new information is the best thing you can do for yourself and your audio engineering path, honestly. Any recent musical guilty pleasures? David, thank you so much for your question. Honestly, I don't have a lot of guilty pleasures. Not in the sense of, I'm not really ashamed of anything I listen to. I had to do a longish drive, an 1.5-hour drive yesterday to go visit a friend. And my playlist was like Devil Wears Prada Zombie EP to the Nickelback Feed the Machine record, which, dude, talk all the smack you want about Nickelback. Their records sound incredible. And then I went from that to Rammstein's self-titled newest record to Kanye West's After Hours record. So I guess you would call the Nickelback record a guilty pleasure. I think Nickelback is awesome and they sound amazing and they rip live, and all the respect to them. But yeah, I don't know. Guilty pleasures. I've been listening to a lot of jazz lately, like Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass, Tal Farlow, Frank Sinatra too. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. Am I schizophrenic? Guys, am I schizophrenic? I'm probably not schizophrenic. How would you know though? If you could only own one 212 cabinet to swap heads between, which would it be? How much does the physical cabinet play into it, or should you just get what you can with the best speakers? Douglas, that is a great question. For me, my entire life is 212 cabinets out of necessity. I have a couple of really old Mesa 412s that I keep in storage, and I use them when I need them, which is very, very rarely. Mostly, I record all the stuff that you guys hear for this channel with a vertical Mesa 212 cabinet. The horizontal rectifier oversized 212 cabinet would be my number one choice, and speaker choice for my recording cabinet is Vintage 30 and an H65 Creamback. To answer your question about the speakers, in cabinet construction will dictate the sound as much as the speakers will, in my opinion. Actually, that's not really an opinion. That's pretty much fact. A poorly constructed cabinet with good speakers will not sound as good as a well-constructed cabinet with poor speakers. Facts. And I have tested this theory over and over and over again. A good quality cabinet will go so far in your tone, and it just lets the speakers do what they are meant to do. It doesn't limit the speakers. A good guitar cabinet. There's lots of makers out there. EVH cabinets are real good bang for your buck. Mesa cabinets are my favorite. Orange makes a great cabinet. Zilla makes a great cabinet. There's all sorts of makers of really great guitar cabinets. Avatar is a real good bang for your buck as well. But yeah, definitely don't cheap out on the guitar cabinet part. Which albums just melted your face when you first heard them? Sean, good question. Okay, so I will preface this answer by saying, for me, I'm the guy who has to listen to an album like 3 or 4 or 5 times, and I really kind of soak it up and I really kind of digest it before I decide if I like it or not. I really give it a chance. So for an album to knock me out right away, it has to be something like really, really damn good. For me, that's been albums like Alice in Chains' Dirt. That has been The Weeknd's After Hours, Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, and Rammstein's Reise record is probably my favorite of theirs. So those albums really knocked me back, like really, really good. I was like, every time over the span of the years. That was my reaction. That's what I do when I hear a really good album, apparently. Besides amps, cabs, and microphones, what analog gear do you recommend for a home studio tracking metal, such as EQ, compressors, mixers, etc.? Kevin, that is a good question. I've been on this journey a little bit lately. For my desk, I kind of removed all of the stuff I didn't need, and I put stuff in that I could use. And I think you shouldn't get any outboard gear until you're trying to solve a specific problem. And I think that was the thing I didn't do before. I would just arbitrarily just kind of get stuff and be like, I'll use this at some point, and then I would never use it. So I've put stuff in my desk now that I specifically went, you know what would be cool if I had? You know what I could really use? So first in the mic, in the preamp signal chain, for me, for my mics coming from my guitar cabs, I have to have Neve. So like I have a Heritage Audio HA73. It's a dual channel Neve. I'm looking at it. Hi. I'm looking. I need. It's a dual channel Neve preamp with EQ for each microphone channel. I also have a couple of warm Pultecs, and those I use for whatever I'm feeling. I use those for guitars with the EQ switched off, but just have it in line, which it kind of warms it up and scoops it out a little bit, which is nice. I'll also sometimes use it on a kick drum or some kind of a 2-bus thing, just depending on the situation. Very versatile EQs, I love them. I have a Rupert Neve master bus compressor, or a master bus processor, which is kind of like my 2-bus compression mastering thing. Honestly, good mic pre's are gonna get you 90% of there if you're recording metal guitars with an actual cabinet. At what point or by what measure do you feel you're ready to take on clients for mixing? You know, that's something I have built up to, at least when I was really kind of doing it with bands. For me, it was starting out doing things for free to kind of show what I could do. It also was good practice for me and like the band, like my local band or my friend's band or whatever. Do some things for free, and then you do it for a little bit of money, and then you do it for a little bit more money, and that process just kind of keeps going. By starting out doing something for free, you're keeping expectations low, but you're also setting yourself up to really exceed their expectations. And if you exceed their expectations when doing it for free, well, imagine what kind of job you'll do if they actually pay you. And in my experience, if you do a really great job for little to no money, you will then get called back to do the next thing and make the real money. And it's never really, you shouldn't do, I mean, obviously money's nice, but I never did the audio thing or the mixing thing for money. I just really like doing it. And I was doing my own stuff, and then someone go, hey, you wanna mix our stuff, or you wanna mix our stuff? And I was unsure of myself, so I'd be like, well, okay, well, I'm not sure how good this is gonna turn out, and I don't wanna waste your money or time, so I'll just do it for free, but it'll take me a couple of weeks. Something like that. Ease into it. Don't immediately just start going, okay, I have no history and no foundation, and you've never heard anything that I've ever done, but I'm gonna start charging you money. You can't do that. You have to build yourself a reputation, and you have to build yourself, kind of a word of mouth trust with the bands and artists that you're gonna work with. But I would start out doing it for free and then work yourself up from that. And that does it for this episode of FAQ Monday. If you have a question, feel free to leave them on down below or going over to my Twitter, and we'll get you squared away at some point soon. I promise. Fluff out. If you liked the video you just watched, please consider subscribing. And if you want to further support me and what I do, consider using some of the affiliate links down below in the description of this video. Go on over to Sweetwater, buy yourself something, and help me out at the same time. It's a win-win for both of us.